A brutal winter storm screamed against the mountains the night everything changed for Daniel Hale. Snow hammered the windshield, the radio crackled warnings, and the single dad gripped the steering wheel as if the wind was trying to tear his life apart all over again. His truck sputtered, coughed, and finally died on the narrow forest road, miles from help, with temperature dropping fast. He wasn't supposed to be out here. He wasn't supposed to cross paths with her. Yet fate had its own plans, and within minutes, he found himself stumbling toward the dim light of an old cabin where the last person he ever expected to see was already trapped inside, the CEO who had once fired him without a second thought. Pushpin before we continue, if you believe in kindness, redemption, and unexpected second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these heart-touching stories reach more beautiful souls. Daniel pushed the cabin door open just as a gust of icy wind hurled snow inside. At first, he thought the storm was playing tricks on him, because standing by the small fireplace, wrapped in nothing but a thin blanket and a red satin slip dress, was Alexandra Hart, CEO of Hart Industries, the woman known in the corporate world as the Ice Queen. She looked nothing like the ruthless executive who dismissed him with a cold signature months ago. Tonight, her hair was slightly wild from the storm, her cheeks flushed from the cold, and her eyes, they held fear. Real fear. Her rental SUV had broken down hours earlier. No cell signal. No help. No choice but to take shelter in the old Ranger cabin. Daniel hated how his heart reacted, how memories of the life he'd lost, the job he'd once loved, and the dreams he failed to provide for his daughter weighed heavy inside him. He kept his distance, trying to warm himself near the fire while snowflakes melted on his jacket. Alexandra watched him carefully, as if expecting him to resent her, lash out, or walk right back into the storm. But Daniel wasn't built that way. Life had already hardened enough corners of him, he refused to let it shape the rest. Minutes crawled by with only the fire crackling between them. Eventually, Alexandra's voice broke the silence, trembling at the edges. She thanked him for not leaving her alone. The storm deepened, rattling the cabin walls, and as the temperature fell further, Daniel noticed her shivering violently beneath her thin blanket. He offered her half of his, but she only stared at him for a long, uncertain moment before whispering words he never expected, words that cut straight through the icy tension. Then she quietly asked if she could slip under his blanket. Her voice wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't manipulative. It was scared, small, and human. He nodded, and she moved closer, hesitating before settling next to him. Their shared warmth was the only thing keeping the cold at bay. Outside, the storm howled like a wounded animal, but inside, something softened, something neither of them saw coming. Alexandra wasn't at all like the CEO he remembered. She wasn't distant or calculating tonight. She was vulnerable, exhausted, and for the first time, willing to let someone see behind her armor. She told him about the pressure she had grown up with, the expectations, the years of working without rest, pushing everyone away because she was terrified of being seen as weak. She admitted she remembered firing him, admitted she regretted it but at the time didn't know how to lead with anything but cold authority. Daniel didn't sugarcoat his pain. He spoke of his little girl, of losing his job when he needed stability the most, of the guilt that kept him awake every night. Yet as he shared, he realized something surprising: he didn't resent Alexandra anymore. The storm outside felt like an echo of the storms inside both of them, storms neither had ever truly acknowledged. Hours passed in quiet conversation and shared vulnerability. The fire glowed soft and warm, reflecting in Alexandra's eyes as she studied Daniel with an expression he couldn't quite name, admiration, maybe, or the slow realization that kindness still existed in the world she had long convinced herself was cruel. Somewhere deep in the night, the wind finally began to soften. Alexandra, exhausted from fear and cold, rested her head lightly against his shoulder. Daniel froze at first, but the soft weight of her trust settled something inside him. It felt right. Human. Healing. As dawn crawled across the snowy peaks, a ranger finally reached the cabin. The door burst open, letting in a blast of cold air, and Alexandra sat up in a startled rush. Reality came crashing back, the CEO, the single dad, the two different worlds. She stood, fixed her hair, and for a moment he thought the Ice Queen had returned. But then she turned to him with a softness that hadn't been there before. She held his gaze with a promise in her eyes, one that said this night had changed something for both of them. She asked if she could see him again, not as a boss, not as a CEO trying to undo a mistake, but as a woman trying to rebuild her own broken edges. Daniel didn't know what the future held. He didn't know if their worlds could fit together. But he did know one thing: last night, in the heart of a deadly storm, he saw the truth beneath Alexandra's steel exterior, and she saw the men he kept buried behind responsibility and survival. Sometimes storms don't break us. Sometimes they break us open. And sometimes, in the coldest nights, hearts thaw that were frozen for far too long. Speech balloon. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive.